Hi, neurodivergent mamas and papas. Today I want to talk about what happens when an ADHD husband has an ADHD rage attack that causes the autistic wife to have an autistic meltdown. True story. This happened to me yesterday and it was emotionally really difficult, but I hope me sharing my story today is going to help you make sense of your neurodivergent family. If we haven't met before, my name is Ananga. I'm autistic and ADHD. My husband Vinny is ADHD. My son Sunny is ADHD and autistic, and my daughter is highly sensitive. Welcome to our neurodivergent family and thank you for subscribing. The one thing that is guaranteed in a neurodivergent family is lots and lots of feelings, and this often translates to lots and lots of drama, often lots of loud volume, passionate speaking, lots of tears, and lots of love. Genuine, true, humble love. This story starts off with the rage. So yesterday, my husband went into an ADHD rage because of certain things that happened between in the family situation. The kids were being loud, not listening, and I had criticized him about something. If you know anything about ADHD people, we are extremely sensitive to being criticized. We are extremely rejection sensitive. So I triggered his rejection sensitivity, and that instantly caused him to go into an ADHD rage. This is because that was the last straw. So how ADHD rage builds up is similar to how autistic meltdowns build up. It's not the last thing that happened before the rage attack is the real issue. There are probably 5 other things that happened, and that last thing was finally the thing that was just too heavy for him to bear, and he went poof. So in his rage, he started to behave in certain ways that triggered an autistic meltdown in me. Because he was so angry, he took something that belonged to me and he used it, and my autism was triggered in that moment, because what triggers autistic meltdowns often is the feeling of unfairness, of the feeling of not being heard, not being accepted, and just unfairness. So in my mind, I'm thinking, that's mine. You must not touch that. This is unfair. Alarm, alarm, alarm. So I start freaking out and I'm like, don't touch that. That's mine. That's mine. And he's so angry at me. He's in an ADHD rage and he just keeps touching that thing more and more and more. And now I'm laughing thinking about this because it's hilarious. But at the time, it was really emotional, scary, and sad. I'm in my autistic meltdown saying, that's mine, don't touch, this is so unfair. And in his mind, he's like, I'm so angry at you, here, I'm touching it, look at me touch it. So that's what happened. Now that I'm talking about it, I realize that I also probably triggered his PDA, pathological demand avoidance, which is an instant reaction to say no, to oppose any request that comes upon you. So in my autistic meltdown, I'm saying, don't touch that, don't touch that. So I'm saying no. And in his PDA, pathological demand avoidance, he's like, watch me touch it. I do this too, so I can understand where he's coming from. Anyway, so what happened is I had my full meltdown. I left the space. I went into a little nook that I've created in the house. I'll show you guys in another video. It's like my calm down little cave. It's very small. It's a tight space. It's very sensory. It's dark. It's like a little niche under the stairs, to be honest. But I made this kind of little cave for myself, and I went in there to calm myself down, just to cry it out, to be honest. And that's what happened. Luckily, we were able to figure out all those little things that added up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those things that added up to that rage attack in him and to the meltdown in me. It actually started days before, when I had not created a clear boundary about who's watching the kids and for how long. And so the day of this big meltdown and rage attack, we just were not very clear on what was expected from each other. And of course, there's a lot of ground for misunderstanding. I'll make a whole other video about how we detangled this meltdown and this impasse that both of us had come to, him as an ADHD dad and me as an autistic ADHD mom to kids. Now I want to talk about how this impacted the kids, because that's the whole purpose of this channel. Us as neurodivergent parents to have more awareness about all of us so that we can be conscious of how to control ourselves or how to observe ourselves, because guess what? Your kids are observing you, whether you're observing yourself or not. And they're not just observing, they're absorbing you like a sponge. Anything they see, they're soaking in, and it's becoming part of them. It's so important for us to become more and more aware of how our neurodivergent traits show up in us, because if we don't see it, our kids see it, they start reflecting back, and then we start blaming them, thinking, oh my God, my neurodivergent kid is so hard to manage, my autistic kid is ruining my marriage, or whatever. It is statistically shown in the Adverse Childhood Experiment Study, ACE study, and you can look this up in the book, I'll link to it below, that when we experience domestic violence, that gets marked in a person's memory as an adverse childhood experience. Unintentionally, this huge blow-up fight, it was a heated discussion, it was a heated fight. Like, look, all married couples fight. And the kids are witnessing this, and it is impacting them. They are too little to understand that dad is ADHD, mom is autistic, and they're having communication problems. This doesn't matter to them. They're too little to understand that. But it is having an impact on them. What ended up happening when I went into my little sensory cave to recover myself, they came in to console me, to check on me, to make sure I was okay. And they really emotionally responded to what was happening. But the most important thing that the kids have learned from this situation is the next day after I had an autistic shutdown, which is what my next video is going to be about. After I had my autistic shutdown as a result of the meltdown, I could come back to my husband, we could talk it out, and we could really get out of this headlock we were in and kind of come back together again. We could hug again. We could cry together again, or at least I cried. And seeing this reunion happening and this return of respect between the parents is really, really valuable to a child. And it undoes a lot of that scary stuff, the loud stuff, the quite normal neurodivergent atmosphere that exists in a family home. If you're a neurodivergent parent and this has helped you, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to this channel, because it helps more people who need to see this actually see it. And don't forget to watch my next video, which is all about autistic shutdowns, which often follow an autistic meltdown. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.